Most of you know the personality of Hassan Bhai Jaffer, who is a very young 80-year-old. He is the author of The Endangered Species, the books that you see spread out there. This was the first publication that Mark undertook. And it is at the moment our only publication, and we are very proud of it. We have 2 editions. Hassan Bhai wrote the first one, and then we added things to it, and we were able to publish the second edition with more photographs and all that. Hassan Bhai will be here. He'll be signing the books, and we encourage you, because sometimes we feel that we are not a reading community. And that's something that we need to look at, because a lot of things that were discussed here, for example, Zainabai asked the question on language. There she is. I thought you were sitting there at the back. And the questions are answered very much so by Hassan Bhai in the book and the analysis that he does, where he talks about many things. He talks about, the Khoja traits. He even talks about Khoja humor. And I just want to share this with you. I was at the risk of repetition so that we can get this thing live. Khoja humor is something that's always sort of very, very indirect. And I can only say this in Gujarati, કે કાકાને ભત્રીજો ઉપર નીચે રહેતા હતા અને રાત્રે કંઈક અવાજ આવ્યો. ભત્રીજાએ કાકાને પૂછ્યું કે કાકા નીચે રહેતા, ભત્રીજો ઉપર રહેતો હતો. કાકાને પૂછ્યું, કાકા ગઈકાલે રાત્રે કંઈ અવાજ આવ્યો હતો, શું હતું? તો કે કાકા કંઈ હતું? કાકા કે કંઈ હતું નહીં. તો કે કાકા આટલો બધો દાદરા ઉપરથી અવાજ આવ્યો, કાંઈક તો હશે. તો કે આ ઓલું ધોતિયું પડી ગયું. તો કે ધોતિયું પડી ગયું ને આટલો બધો અવાજ આવ્યો. તો કે સાથે હું હતો ને. This is, we are the masters of the understatement, and Hassan Bhai covers this. For example, he writes that when you have one Khoja, you have a lonely individual. When you have 2 Khojas, they form a Jamaat, and you have 3 Khojas, they form a federation. I'm so disappointed he didn't write about Mark, though. So, Hassan Bhai is a historian, a oral historian. He has, I would say, been in the kitchen of the Khoja Shia ethnic community. I say that because his family has been instrumental in much Tabligh work, beginning from this personality that Professor Akhtar mentioned, Devji Jamal. And we'll talk about him a little later, but he is a descendant. He is a great, correct, grandson of Haji Devji Jamal. And Hassan Bhai has tirelessly worked over the years to pass on the knowledge of the Khoja community and our history to the generations to come. We are grateful to him for having published the book, rightly named The Endangered Species. Now, you can ask him why he named it that. Everybody has their own. So Hassan Bhai, please welcome Hassan Bhai with a loud Narai Salam.
Thank you, Hassan, for your kind words. And in the process, if you have raised any expectations and I have failed to live up to that, ladies and gentlemen, don't blame me, blame him for it. The subject for discussion today is the evolution of mindset, case for survival, a reality check. As we look at the current wave of refugees from the Middle East, Africa, Afghanistan, and Pakistan moving towards Europe, we can understand and sympathize with their plight. Many of us, or our ancestors, have undergone not too similar experience in our history. As an immigrant community to settle in Europe, Canada, and the United States within the past 5 to 6 decades, what future holds for us to survive as practicing Muslims by the end of this century? A number of Muslim communities to settle here before us are known to have been absorbed in the milieu and soon lost their identities as practicing Muslims. What makes us believe that we are any different or can easily withstand the environmental pressures? In the spirit of Bain al-Ahbab, Taskutul Adab, between brothers, there is no need of politics or false modesty. I take the liberty of making some introductory comments. We can then quickly run through a PowerPoint presentation to help generate candid and open conversation. While primary objective of this forum is to focus our attention on issues affecting the Khoja community, we must recognize that we cannot live in isolation and adopt an introvert and insular outlook, since we are part of the greater humanity around us and are subject to all the vagaries of life that people generally go through. The Khoja Nasri Muslim community is a minuscule community numbering less than 150,000 heads, dispersed in 40+ countries and as nationals of 20+ states. Khoja as a clan or a community emerged some 600 years ago, comprising of the followers of the Satpanthi, Ismaili, Sunni, and Shia Ithnashri faith that often overlapped with each other. How and why did the Khoja Shia Ithnashri Muslim community separate from the main body of the Khoja community to emerge as a distinct group some 150 years ago? We took an introspective look at our faith, queried the essence of our beliefs and practices, and where necessary, we sought expert advice. Having recognized our shortcomings, we resolved to change. It was for the freedom to practice the faith of our choice that we were obliged to separate from the once united Khoja community to evolve as an alternative Khoja Shia Nasri Muslim community as we are known today. It is worth recalling here that prior to the emergence of the Gujarati and the Kutchi-speaking Khoja some 600 years ago, there have been Kashmiri, Punjabi, and Sindhi Khoja. While adherents of the Sunni and Shia faith among the Kashmiri and the Punjabi Khoja could assimilate with the larger Sunni or Shia communities of similar ethnicity already in existence in their environments, the Sindhi and Gujarati Kutchi-speaking Khoja had no relative supporting environment to be absorbed in. By the very nature of the Indian tribal and clan-related cultural taboos, split in families on doctrinal grounds, followed by unsavory development that soured relations between brothers and families, the sharp divide has been inevitable. Preservation of a distinct identity as Khoja and development of structured societies around this identity have been crucial for the survival of faith, for the newly emerging community, and our consequent growth to date. But for this alternative cohesive society, developed in early days and replicated as we moved over from Africa and then to different parts of the world, many of us would not have been here today. We would have probably been back in the Jamaat Khana. We have to keep abreast of the changing times. The fragmented Khoja communities can all go their own ways. To practice their beliefs either as the Satpanthi, Ismaili, Sunni or Shia Ithnashri, yet live in harmony as brothers. To this end, we have an obligation to reach out. As people gain social and economic security, especially after the resettlement in the West, and to a variable degree while still in Africa or in the Indian subcontinent, there is a tendency among factions to forget their history and develop individualistic outlook, bypassing the collective community endeavor. We often tend to forget that as humans, we are social animals. We owe it to ourselves, and it is in our long-term interest that we all work together for the betterment of the society around us. In several cases, our identity has been put to question by some internal and external forces. The principle of our collective ownership as a community, open accountability, and democratic working system tend to send jitters in certain quarters. Wittingly or otherwise, efforts are at hand by various factions from within and from external forces to wreck our unity as a cohesive, organized society. At times, driven by simplistic outlook and reactionary emotionalism, many well-meaning individuals from within the society fall easy prey to such machinations. In many cases, growth of the divisive tendencies, and especially alienation of the younger generation, arise in reaction to the hegemonic outlook of the 2R factors within the society that call for attention. What is so unique about being a Khoja that we wish to retain this identity as Khoja? Do we in any way consider ourselves different, superior, or inferior to anyone? There's nothing great in belonging to any race or to any particular ethnic society. What really matters is how we strive to develop as good human beings worthy of the divine creation. The Holy Quran is explicit in this respect. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. يا أيها الناس إنا خلقناكم من ذكر وأنثى وجعلناكم شعوبا وقبائلا لتعارفوا إن أكرمكم عند الله يتقاكم إن الله عليم خبير. Rabbi Hussein in his introductory comments, had recited this ayah, and I read out the translation. O mankind, we created you of a single pair of a male and female, and made you into nations and tribes, that you may know each other, not that you may despise each other. Verily, the most honored of you in the sight of Allah is who is the most righteous of you, and Allah has full knowledge and is well acquainted with all things. In this spirit, there is therefore nothing special in belonging to the Khoja community. In this spirit, there is nothing special in belonging to the Khoja community except for one thing. At one stage in their history, they had put on their thinking caps. They took an introspective look at themselves, reviewed their belief system and practices, and having recognized their shortcomings, they were ready to make amends, move towards a change, and reorganize themselves. This is how the Khoja Shia Nasri Muslim community came into being 1.5 centuries ago. 150 years later, where do we stand today? Is the flame of the spirit of inquiry still alive, or has complacency set in with a sense of satisfaction that we can sit back in the belief that all is bliss now? 3 questions arise here. How relevant and effective are we today in enshrining Islamic values in our progeny, for which we emerged as a distinct community in the first place? Number 2, in running our organizations from Jamaat upwards, how do we make decisions for developments? Based on systematic study, surveys and investigations, or more often than not, we continue to relive our past, and decisions are made on ad hoc basis, propelled more by euphoria and emotionalism, and inclinations of the powers that be than meticulous analytical reviews. Are we still operating with certain psychoses that we need charismatic leaders to lead us? Or do we recognize that we have to first crystallize vision, develop a culture and tradition that requires successive managements to accept the ingrained principle and operate with pragmatic approach, taking along cross-section of the society on board. 10 years back, while writing my book, The Sowing and Reaping of Destiny, with ABCD syndrome with Khoja, I circulated a set of questionnaires to a number of youths in Orlando, New York, and Toronto. One young person wrote to me, "Is it not time we dispense with our Indian cultural baggage and replace it with truly Islamic value-oriented outlook more suited to life in the West?" That letter came from Toronto. Following a presentation on this subject on May 3 this year, after the AFET Council meeting in Mombasa, someone from Europe wrote to me with the following observations. "I think the main challenge is to address the next generation who see themselves as Canadian or American or European. For the first time, there is a sense of nationality and nationalism which was lacking in Africa. The interesting thing is that the indigenous white population in these places is moving away from nationalism and more towards a globalist ideology and identity. The migrants are taking their place and becoming more Canadians than the Canadians themselves. If they can understand that nationalism has had its day in history, and Islam has always been global and cannot be confined to national borders, and if they can see themselves in the same global context, we are more global than any group of local in the West, then our youths might get into the right frame of mind to see Khoja identity as a right, because it is an important part of the diversity in global milieu. That if people are not careful, drowns every form of diversity under a global consumer culture. Others are protecting and promoting their cultural diversity. We are often undermining instead of improving ours. The third question we need to reflect upon is that for various reasons, we are under a microscope of some sort. There's growing interest from various quarters as people are closely looking at the working of our community. In our neighborhood, at times we tend to undermine our own future. This reality has to be driven home, and I crave the indulgence of the participants for open discussion on these points. Now, look, this ship, it conveys what? These are the trials which our people went through as they sailed from India to come to Africa. And from Africa, as we move out, we went through stormy seas in various forms. That's our long history. But there's a tendency for people to describe it, oh, it's an accident of history. It happens. There is an Urdu shair which has said, दुनिया समझ रही थी कि तूफान मेरे अज़्म का इम्तिहान ले रहा था. दुनिया समझ रही थी कि कश्ती भंवर में है. See? But what we often forget is the silent workers of the community. Jamaat President is here, Muki Sahib is here, and many, many workers who quietly, and the little young boys and girls who pick up the jug of Sabile Hussein. It is they, inventively, who have kept us together. But for them, Another Urdu poet says, साहिल पे बैठने वाले क्या जाने, मल्लाह पे क्या गुजरती है, कौन कश्ती डुबोता है, कौन पार लगाता है. So these silent workers are the people who have saved the community. But we sit back and only look for their faults, not appreciating that but for them, where would be? Now, this is the type of ships our ancestors. This is a picture of Mombasa Harbor. Until 1960 or 70, such ships used to come. And Asnain Bhai has produced a film. I would request you to look at that film documentary carefully and especially listen to one small segment. A sailor from Kutch describes that the journey from India to East Africa would normally take about a month, but they would take on board provision for 2 months, including water supply. But to save that water supply, everyone, the crew and the passengers, would be given 1 glass of water per day. That was the ration. Now think, here people are walking around the street with a bottle of water. 1 bottle, 1 glass only per day. That's how our people went through. Now, our population we discussed already. Where are we today? 150,000. Look at the map, all the colored section, we are there. Now, this is the population disbursement in Africa. You can have a quick look at it. Oh, sorry. Now, here the African Federation has the association, Yemen 2 Jamaats and Dubai Jamaat. Now, you know the latest situation in Yemen. Our community has worked. Nobody has come to our aid. There's a long history, we shall come to it separately. Now, global estimates, have a look at this. Here in the World Federation estimate, it's given 29,000 for Africa. While earlier on the latest figures I got from the Africa Federation, is 23,000. So in the last 10 years or so, we have lost 6,000 in Africa. Now close your eyes and think for a moment, people of my age, 10 years down the line pass away. What will be the population of Africa? I have 5 children, none of them is in Africa. And the same thing goes with every family. Where are we going? Now, look at the Middle East. Exact figures are not possible because they are in a flux. There's constant movement there. Now, there's growing interest internationally in the Khoja community. For what reason? I don't know. Partly because we like to brag, partly because we like too much over-publicity, or whatever you call it. Or it may be good, it may be bad. But now look, these 2 books have been written in Farsi, about 220 pages, the first one left. The other book, 440 pages. And look at this. You have the link there. 1 hour Muharram Majlis was devoted to describing the Khoja community. In fact, he covered all the communities, not only us, and I listened to that. It was fairly balanced coverage. And this was in Saudi Arabia, Eastern, in the Haran area. Now, you'll be interested, Razali Bhai, you know about this thing. I don't know whether, I can't read Japan, your name must be there somewhere. Khoja University carried out a survey of our community in Madagascar. There are certain English chapters, I looked at it, and how the population came first to Tuliyar and all those things. What I went there and tried to find out, it tallies the report. But can you imagine people from Japan coming all the way to Madagascar when we have little link with Japan? They are interested in us. Why? And so many scholars, UK, France, Poland, Muscat, Iran, Japan, USA, and East Africa, are researching on, about 3 to 4 are already in contact with me, and they have sent me their manuscript asking to correct whether I'm right or raising question. But there may be more. Iqbal would know more, and there is a young man from Mombasa who is now in Paris. He's doing. Now, issues we need to discuss. Why should we retain Khoja identity? Historical relevance, what if abandoned? How relevant and effective are we in retaining the purpose for which we emerged as a distinct community in the first place, in enshrining Islamic values for our successive generations? That was the only purpose. Secondly, in managing the community affairs, we've discussed that, how relevant are we in this day, and how global dynamics works with us. Now look at this. How global dynamics affect us. This book, I found it in New York. A Gift to Sunni, How to Demolish the Shia Faith. I bought it in New York. This book, At-Tashayyuh fil Afriqiyya, 750 pages, written by 30 researchers. They went in every country. The activities in East Africa are there. At the last Africa Federation meeting, I showed this thing to the chairman of Africa. I said, your photograph is here in this book. And having written this one-year research, they appointed a team of 5 editors, scholars, to edit the material and then produce this report. So we are under microscope. Now, this study is in America. US study, Wahhabism from Night to New York. I think everyone should read that here. You can get it. Okay. European Shiism. Gather intel into Shiite mosque. Intelligence information to Shiite mosque. And this is a Huffington Post. You can go on the internet, you can get it. So, okay. Now, another thing is this. What are the problems we are facing? Effects of homogenic outlook, a hegemonic outlook, and silent majority apathy. And the 2R syndrome. Now, what is 2R syndrome? It is in the epilogue, page 489. 1.5 centuries ago, we rejected the religious and social control exercised by successive Aga Khans. We dispensed with the concept of the Khan and were left with that of the Aga. Instead of one Aga Khan, we acquired hundreds of Aga, minus the pontificating Khan. In the vacuum caused, stepped in the power barons, the Setia and the Wadera culture, keen not to miss an opportunity to exploit the naive and gullible thinking of the masses to entrench their hold over the society in various forms. The combination of 2R, the rich and the religious, in the spirit of the Persian saying, Tu mara qazi bigu ya man tura haji bigu. You call me qazi and I call you haji. Has been highly detrimental to the society. Added to this, the docile silent majority has completed the troika to contribute a negative growth. For its apathetic approach, the silent majority cannot be absolved of its responsibility. Now, I would like you to have a look at this. This is Muharram procession, Ashura procession in Dar es Salaam. Not organized by our Jamaat, organized by some groups there. Now look at 4 pictures and then I'll comment on it. This is second. This is third. This is fourth. Now, what I would like to see here, what it says here, Atiu Allah wa atiu Rasul wa ulil amri minkum, with the two photograph. And then in Farsi is written down, Ita'ate wilayate faqih, Ita'ate Rasulullah ast. Now, again, I took this thing to Qum. In my iPad, I've got that. And I went to one university scholar in a very high position in Tehran. And I met one Ayatollah and one head of a seminary in Tehran. I said, "Aga in Chichidas, in Khoja, to Africa." Seno prasang chia, what is it? Manna bidano. The Yom Ashura. Yom Ashura? Alhamdulillah. If you are surprised that this is Ashura, what's going on in this community? Is this, can you see the name of Imam Hussein anywhere here? Can we see? We tolerate it. Why? I'm going further on that. This is the million-dollar question I'm posing. To be a good Muslim, do we have to be Arab and adopt Arab traditions and practices? To be good Shia, do we have to be Irani and adopt Irani traditional practices? How do we view Islam? As an Oriental practice or a universal religion? The underlying challenge facing the community is, in the West, is enshrining Islamic values in our everyday lives, not in our mosque, in our madrasa. That's Hadith of Muhammad Baqir. One day somebody comes to him and says, "Mawla, who is a true Muslim, a true Shia, and a true follower of yours?" Let us say we are asked this question, and we are told, "You've got 3 minutes to write down this thing, and not more than." What answer will we give? Just let us think for a moment, and let us see the answer given by Imam. The Imam said, he is a true Muslim, a true Shia, and a true follower of us, who, when he walks in the streets, his sworn enemy would point a finger at him and say, "There goes a perfect gentleman with no fault whatsoever except one." And that is, he's a follower of Ahlul Bayt. In somebody recited the ayat of Quran, وَجَعَلْنَاكُمْ أُمَّةً وَسَطًا لِتَكُونُوا شُهَدَاءَ عَلَى النَّاسِ وَمَا الرَّسُولُ عَلَيْكُمْ شَهِيدًا. This is, we have ordained you to be a people most balanced, that you are a model to others, while the Prophet is a model to you and a witness over you. Are we model to others? Let us answer ourselves. Now, here is, this year I carried out a research. There are 114 Khoja students, including the spouses. If the Khoja girl is married into Khoja, that is included here, one of the two. How many from America? How many from Canada? How many blah, blah, what, you can see that. The question is this. Can you imagine 114 Khoja Maulanas coming here with turbans? How many Jamaats will you have in Toronto? Pramukh Sahib, તમને આપઘાત કરવાનું પણ થઈ જશે. ખુદા સલામત રાખે. See, the question is this. How, what, okay, there's another part, so I will not preempt it. Now, Sheikh Zainul Abidin Mazindarani, Iqbal referred to him. We are indebted to him for being what we are today, and what he had said. When Mullah Qadar Hussain said, "I don't want to return to India, I want to stay here," and what did Sheikh Zainul Abidin say? Sheikh Zainul Abidin advocated, "Advanced learning will earn you degree of Maulvi, Fazil, and Mujtahid, but ultimately these degrees holders have to work in the field of preaching. Hence, go and do according to the divine will. Do you know the verse of the Quran? Whoever gives life to one person gives life to mankind. So what is the good of knowledge? Human life is like a candle. It burns itself out to extinction someday. And while it burns, the candle, it goes finished. But if I share that light with him, with her, with whom, everyone, it doesn't reduce my glow. It increases the glow all around, the darkness. But if I keep it to myself, and the day it goes, finito. But if I share that glow, after I'm gone, it's there. So that is the challenge of knowledge. What good is knowledge which cannot give light to others? And this is the challenge we have to ask. Now, this ayah, you can see it at home. If I talk here, it will take another 10 minutes, so I'll avoid. Well, Allah says, we'll test you. وَلَنَبْلُوَنَّكُمْ بِشَيْءٍ مِّنَ الْخَوْفِ وَالْجُوعِ وَنَقْصٍ مِّنَ الْأَمْوَالِ وَالْأَنفُسِ وَالثَّمَرَاتِ. Allah will test you with thamarat. What is thamarat? The fruits of labor, our children, our progeny. Is Allah a sadist? He wants to see our children punished? No. The test for us is how do we ensure that our children remain on Sirat-e Mustaqim, and how up to date and relevant we are to fulfill their needs. Now, the biggest test is this. When you go home, please pick up chapter 66, verse 6. Chapter 66, verse Surah. It says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu qu anfusakum wa ahlikum nara. People, save yourself and your families from hellfire. What sort of hellfire? In which the fuel is of men and stones. It gives the concept of lava flowing. Now, if we ignore our children, we ignore our needs, this is the test for us in this life. And every one of us, it is not for the Jamaat, for the Mullah, for the Maulana, for anyone. It is for me to look after the interest of my children. The challenge is for me, because when I die, I go into my grave. Nobody is going to come and hold my hand and lead me to heaven. I shall have to earn it based on my iman and my amal in life. How successful are we? What are the ground realities? What mechanism do we have to assess and evaluate related issues? What are the means of imparting Islamic values to our children? How decisions are made to chart the way forward? What monitoring follow-up mechanism have? Now, the means available, he has explained, and so I will not touch upon, but these are the means available to us. He has elaborated, stand by, so, and he has been touching on this for the last 2 years. Now, here, the last survey was carried out in 1994 under Nasimco. I don't know how many of you have seen, but it is worth seeing that. And Muslim youth at crossroads. These, under Bashir Datu headed this, unfortunately, of whatever reason, this committee was disbanded. And after that, it has not been replaced with a new one. Now, let me digress here a bit. 2002, Ghulam Bhai here will bear witness, we had a meeting here with madrasas in the Ontario area. He chaired the meeting, and we talked of standardization of madrasa teaching with common syllabus, common inspectorate, and everything. We made various proposals, there are minutes of it. Unfortunately, egoism, each madrasa trying to run its own way as if they are running their own religion, it did not work. The result, you have seen recently what happened recently in Toronto. I think it was unfortunate, but I think it was a blessing in disguise. Agreed. Now we are having, I'm aware of what is being done here. It's commendable, now it is being done. But a decade has been lost. So we have to be alert all the time. The storm that came recently was not the last one. Another tsunami could come how much abreast are we of the times we are living in? Now, I come to this question, the role of the member. How relevant it is, or does it lack the sense of mission? Ask one question. Ask any Zakir. What was the mission of Imam Hussein? What was the mission of Imam Hussein? And what was the last message of Imam Hussein on the day of Ashura? I'm quoting Ali Shariati. इसे पानी से ज़्यादा हुसैन को लब्बैक की ज़रूरत थी। अफसोस कि उनके ख़यालात के बजाय उनके जिस्म के ज़ख्मों को हमें दिखाया गया और तशनगी को हुसैन का सबसे बड़ा दर्द समझाया गया. Brothers, the message of Imam Hussein when he left Medina was فإن خرجت لطلب إصلاح أمة جدي أن آمر بالمعروف وأنهى عن المنكر. I am leaving Medina to help reform the ummah of my prophet and invite people to the right path, invite أمر بالمعروف والنهي عن المنكر وأسير بسيرة جدي رسول الله وأبي علي ibn Abi Talib, so that they follow the footsteps of the Holy Prophet and my father Ali ibn Abi Talib. That happened only 50 years after the wafat of the Prophet. 1200 years later, are we the embodiment of perfection or not? And how are we doing, or how is member doing Amr bil Ma'ruf and Nahi anil Munkar? And ask another question. What was the last message of Imam Hussein? We are normally told, Hal min nasirin yansuruna. Anyone come to my help? Help for what? Imam Hussein said Hal min nasirin, but that was Utmam Hujjah. He was not begging for help. It was Imam Hujjah said, nobody says we did not know that he was Imam Hussein. That's why he said, I am Hussein bin Ali. Come to my help. I mean, Urdu शायर से पानी मांगना कब गवारा था शाह को. इत्माम हुज्जत के लिए ये सवाल ज़बान पर आ ही गया. So what was the last message of Imam Hussein? The last message of Imam Hussein was given after the Shahadat of Ali Asghar. Imam Hussein was standing there. And those people beckoned Imam Hussein to pick a fight, and Imam Hussein went on the attack. He accepted the challenge. Shimr saw that, and he sent a detachment towards the Khayyam in order to distract the attention of Imam Hussein. Imam Hussein stopped fighting, went over them, and told those people something that made them stop in their strike. Now think of those pitiless sources. Were they afraid of Imam Hussein? Imam Hussein was alone. There were dozens. They could have attacked him. But Imam Hussein said something that pricked their conscience so much that they dare not attack the tents of Imam Hussein until after the Shahadat of Imam Hussein. What did Imam Hussein say? And what Imam Hussein said there, is he addressing to us today? The words of Imam Hussein were, In lam yakun lakum dinun wa kuntum la takhafun al-ma'ad fakunu ahraran fi dunyakum. If you believe not in religion and fear not the day of judgment, think as free men. Does it suit you to behave like this? Now who's a free man? We are told, Aimma Masum, follow them. But in question of ismat, is it the art of possible or impossible? If we say that it is impossible for us to emulate Aimma Athar, then it is zulm on us to be told that you follow. And Allah is not zalim. So is it possible that if it is the art of possible acquiring the status, what is that? What is the secret of it? These are not my words. I'm quoting Mufti Jaffer Hussain. 1956, he came to Mombasa. You can go on the Google and search who is Mufti Jaffer Hussain. One of the greatest Shia alim after the creation of Pakistan. आप जानते होंगे मुफ्ती जाफर हुसैन को. तो मुफ्ती जाफर हुसैन has described it. There are 4 keys for individual. If he controls them, he elevates himself. And if he fails to control them, he relegates himself. Mention any sin, any wrongdoing, you can link them to these 4 instinctive human desire. Anger, greed, jealousy, and lust. Anger, greed, jealousy, and lust. Whoever controls this elevates himself. Whoever cannot control them relegates him. A'immai Atha were human beings like us. They had the spirituality to a level that they could control these things. Imam Ali was one day asked question after the wafat of the Holy Prophet, some question, and he answered very well by a Christian. And that Christian said, "Are you a prophet?" Imam Ali said, "Wailakum, shame to you. Ana abdi min abidi Muhammad. I'm one of the slaves of Muhammad." That is Imam Ali said, "Ana abdi min abidi Muhammad." Why? That was the level of his spirituality that he could control. There are many examples. I don't want to cite a bunch here and touch on it. Now, gentlemen, how do we handle our affairs? Anger, greed, jealousy, and lust. If I have my say, if I write, behind every member, I will write these words of Imam Hussein, and lam yakun lakum din. And in front of every Maulana, we'll keep that on the member. Are you passing this message or not? Our children are going out of this community. I don't blame them. As we point children, this finger to our children, I must know that 3 fingers are pointing towards me. I and the society and the mullah and the maulana and everybody together are responsible for that. We are out of touch with our children. That is the bitter truth, and we accept it. That is the sickness. So, to that, Hasnain in the last Nasimco conference had presented this slide. Let us stop addressing the challenges of today with the solutions of yesterday. Now, the last slide. If we do nothing, and we relive the past, Chalte ki naam gari, President name, we have gave him what? It is irresponsible. On the day of Qiyamah, we'll hold him responsible. You did not handle this. Chair lady and the president will suffer. Samjha? The Quran says, Ya ayyuhalladhina kafaru la ta'tadiru al-yawma tujzawna ma kuntum ta'malun. This is that day you will reap what you sow. This is the Quran. My responsibility is alone. Jamaat's responsibility, me, you together makes Jamaat. Jamaat does not make me. Ladies and gentlemen, I think I have opened a Pandora's box.